This video will show you how to use the Digital Academy's lesson plan tool and how to use our AI assistant, Ask Boomer, affectionately named after our office dog, Boomer. To get started, go to www.askboomer.com. You can create a new account for free or log in with your existing credentials by clicking the login button in the upper right. So when you log in, you should get to basically this screen. And this is what we're going to do here is show you how to set up some classes so that you can build lesson plans, how to use the AI to generate documents and things like that. And then we'll talk about some more advanced features like how to create your own templates and pre-fill content on your lesson plans. So the first thing that you have to do when you log in is set up classes. And if you hit edit lessons and you don't have any classes set up, it'll tell you have to set up a class. And you can do that by clicking My Classes. Jody's already got one, but I'm going to go ahead and add a new one. And it's very simple. All it really needs is a name, a grade, and a subject. So we'll do 7th grade social science, social studies. And this little hat here lets you pick a color for your class, and it'll light up on your calendar that way. And the way this works, you have to click something up here so it only shows red. If you want to show other colors, you move this little dial down here, and then when you click in there, you just click off of it. That's what you get. So I'm going to go with social studies history as the subject. So that's all you really need. And then a schedule. Right now it's set to meet every day, but you could set it up so that it only meets on certain days of the week by switching this to weekly. And you can give it a time. The time is just for sorting purposes. So I'm not going to do that right now, but if you wanted to change the time each day and then you would see what time it's supposed to meet, you can do that. Collaboration, this allows you to add another teacher to edit this specific class. And there's two ways that you can share your calendar. You can share your whole calendar, which is all your classes, or you can share one class at a time.
Okay.
If it's read and write, they can change the contents of the lesson plan. They'll see it on your calendar. And if it's read only, then they'll just be able to see it. And then yeah, so that's that. And then if you change, the schedule will be the same for both of you. So if you like change the scheduled time, it'll change on their calendar too, in terms of what order that it's in. So just keep in mind that if you're sharing it this way, you're both, this class is on both of your calendars. Link to portal/Google. You can link to a Google Classroom. I'm going to cancel out of this, but it'll make you sign in, and then you'll see a list of classes, and then you just pick the class that you want to link to. Obviously, if I did that, Jody, our accounts would be cross-linked.
Yeah,
So you
that's
want to make
fine.
sure you're on your computer that you have logged into Google. And then the advantage of doing that is that once you create a lesson plan, you can post materials directly to your Google Classroom when you go to share them. And then link to standards. This should be Ohio Social Studies. I don't know what it's called. Is it called Social Studies? Yes, it's called Social Studies, grade 7. So that is in there now. So now that's linked. You can link to more than one. So sometimes people will link to ELA and math. You know, a lot of times people cross-link to ELA, so that's there. But we'll just do social studies for right now. And actually, since this is on Jody's, this is just a test anyway. Okay, so that's that. And then when you hit done, it will create your class. So if you don't specify a time, it sorts it by name and numbers come before letters. So that's why the 7th grade is coming before Jody's test. Okay, so that's editing classes. If you want to add more, you can go to Actions and then Edit Classes. Or if you just hit the home icon, you go to the lesson plan home screen and you can click My Classes. When you are on this and you have classes set up, you just hit Edit My Lessons to go to your lesson plan calendar, and it just gives you. I'm gonna keep this. You can read it and hide it if you want, Jody.
Okay.
Okay, to edit a class, then you just click anywhere here in the title, and it'll open on the left. And this is your lesson plan setup. By default, we have a template that has an objective, a teacher plan, materials, standards, and notes. But you can change that. We'll get to that later. So, some people have, maybe you have a section that's before the bell or something like that. You could add that in, and you could add that in. Jody, you could add it in district-wide for certain schools, or and then teachers could add it in just for a subject, or they could kind of change it. You can also set default text with your template. So if you always want it to say collect homework, review the agenda for the day, or whatever, you could have that pre-filled. Okay, so I'm going to actually kind of work backwards. Usually you kind of know your objective and then you match it to standards, but I really don't know anything. So I'm going to click add standards. And what that does is it opens the standards over here on the right. And so this is the Ohio Social Studies Standards. And actually, to use it, you can click on these 3 bars and drag it over. So this drags that standard to your lesson plan, and then it'll say that it's been taught 1 time. So this taught and assessed is how many times, taught is just how many times it appears on any lesson plan, and assessed is how many times it appears on an assignment, which you probably won't be using this for assignments, but that would be what that's for. And then Webb's depth of knowledge. Do you do anything with Webb's depth of knowledge, Jody? Or
we've had conversations and trainings about it, but I mean, we don't require them to identify that on lesson plans or anything.
Okay. Well, real quick, what this does when you click it, it goes out to AI and it says, for this standard, tell me how I should evaluate student work at each of the different levels of Webb's depth of knowledge. Like, what should I be looking for at Webb's depth of knowledge 1, 2, 3, and 4? And the first time you do it, it takes a little while to go build it. And then after, when anyone anywhere in the system has ever clicked that, then it'll come up instantly. So I know this first time is a little slow because it's going out to the AI and slowly building all this stuff. So, this says, what's the standard? Here's how you can apply the standard to student work. So basically it tells you what the levels are. And then it says at level 1, recall and reproduction. Okay. They can recall factual information related to the social studies standard. They can identify basic terms, events, and dates. Interpret primary and secondary sources to extract information. Sounds like it may not have passed in all of the standard text with this. So, and then, yeah, step 4, apply it to student work. This last sentence here says what level the standard aligns to. So, not all standards, you don't have to get to level 4 on all standards. Some standards just want you to be able to do recall and reproduction. So you actually are meeting the standard if you're performing at level 1. And at level 2 here, that's what that says this is written for. So the student should be meeting the standard if they're performing at this level. So, sometimes they need to get to level 3 to meet the standard, and that's really more for standards-based grading. So that's kind of that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we can use the AI to enhance this a little bit. So I've added the standard on the collapse of the Roman Empire, and you can click this Ask Boomer, and the first time it says you have to agree to the terms and conditions, which just says basically you need to look at the stuff. It could be wrong. All right. So you could do a couple things here: create or update a lesson plan, create materials, link to standards, find materials on the web, or ask a free form question. So let me just run through these in order. So create or update my lesson plan. Now it's going to say, based on what content? Based on a standard or the topic I provide. If you had filled out the lesson plan, there'd be an option for based on my current lesson. Okay, so I'll say based on a topic I provide, and we'll say fall of the Roman Empire. Okay. I think it's actually causes of the fall of the Roman Empire. Okay. And then it will go and create, a lesson based on that. Now, you see it says 60 minutes. You could have said, and I'll show you, we can ask it again, say, oh, please create one that takes a week, or please create one that takes 40 minutes, something like that. So it can be, you could ask it for kind of a weekly guide or whatever. The default is just to create a 60-minute lesson. All right, so as we can see here, it gives you, all the standard things. Ask them what they know, provide a brief overview of the Roman Empire, its size, and its significance in history. Explain that despite that, the Roman Empire eventually fell. And then examine causes to assign, so the barbarian invasion, economic issues. Okay, and then lead a class discussion. So you can, if you want, just save this to your lesson plan. So I can click, if I click save to lesson plan, it literally just puts all of that into the lesson plan. Now, sometimes it adds some things that you don't need. Like I don't need all this header stuff. It just takes up room. And you may decide not to do the extension activities. These labels can be redundant, but basically, like it says objective up here, so I don't need objective again. But it kind of puts that in there, and then it is saving as you go. But you can also hit the save button, and it will update your lesson plan. Now, one of the things that you can do, like, so when I was in there, it said provide a brief overview of the Roman Empire. So create materials, student handouts to explain lesson. Based on my current lesson, it's going to say create a handout to explain the concepts. So let's see what it comes up with here. I'm assuming it's going to provide a handout that, oh, wait a minute. This explains the lesson, causes of the fall. So we'll let this thing go through. But what I'm, kind of trying to show you is that anything that's referenced in here, you can ask it to create a worksheet on. So this is an overview of the whole lesson, but I was supposed to hand out something that just gave an overview of the Roman Empire, its size, and its significance in history. So I'm going to ask for that worksheet when it's done babbling on about this one.
So what you're looking at right now, what you're building would be like notes for the kids to have?
Right. A handout that kind of explains the lesson. And you can save this to Google Drive, and it gives it a name, save it to the lesson plan. There's an option to post it to the classroom here. I'll just go ahead and do that. So I'm in a incognito tab, so I can be logged in as two different people at the same time. So, but if you're logged in as Google already, it should have like picked that up. So it made me log in again. Okay, so then here's a Google document, just with the stuff, causes of the so you could, if you're just handing this out, you could delete the class discussion part, so okay.
Or I could see how this would be helpful for a substitute that comes in that knows nothing about the fall of the Roman Empire, that
Exactly.
provide them background information.
Exactly. So here's another thing. You can ask a free-form question, and you could ask it to clarify this or go into more details on the causes of the fall. But I'm going to say, please create a document that, and just paste in that thing, provides, I don't think I even have to fix this, but provides a brief overview of the Roman Empire. So remember how it wanted you to hand that out, hand out a document to the kids that did that. So this will give that document. and if you had more details that you could say, focus on this time period, focus on these things, provide more details. You can keep asking it to revise this, for your for your needs. So this is kind of a brief overview. I could ask it for a longer overview. I could also, so I could save that to Google, or I can just copy it to the clipboard with this thing, and so background information, the Roman Empire was vast in size, right? So background information, I'm just going to put in, overview of the Roman Empire, right? And tab that in and shrink it down a little. So, I'm kind of building this thing out. So that was the whoopsie. It always puts its little, certainly, it's very polite. So that could be the part of the background. I probably shouldn't have made all the font small. And then down here it says, create a written reflection or, whatever. I could say, create an assessment for this, and it would create that. Or, if I were I could start over. One of the options is create a student assessment. So create a student assessment based on my current lesson, and it will take all the context from here, send that in, and then okay, list the 3 major causes, explain the significance of the barbarian invasions, discuss the economic issues. So it's giving free form answers, which is fine. But if you wanted it to be multiple choice, so you could ask it to change it to be multiple choice. Please include 10 multiple choice questions. Boop. And it'll add those in. I don't know if it'll replace these or if it'll. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's making it all multiple choice. The other thing I could have said was, please create an answer key, and it would kick out an answer key that would go with that, which you could then save to Google, and you could make it 2 different files, one for the kids and one for yourself. Okay, so there we go. So it kind of redid that as an answer key. So if you wanted to be specific, please create 5 fill-in questions, 5 multiple choice questions, and 4 short answers, something like that. I could say, please create an answer key for this. And you don't have to say please. It'll do it either way. It doesn't actually have feelings. So the rise of Christianity was not a cause. All right, so it'll keep kind of going on there. The other big one that I kind of want to show you guys, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit stop responding, and you can stop it at any time. I'm going to go back here, and one of the things I think people like a lot is a project-based learning activity based on a topic or based on my current lesson. And this is really neat. You can ask it. If I wanted to, I could have put in, with 3 stations or 4 stations. Let's say I'm gonna break the kids into 4 groups. Please create instructions for 4 different stations. And a lot of times what I do is I just have it create the activity that I like, and then I have it break it into stations, because you could just say create another one or create a different activity that uses Legos, or create a different activity that uses whatever you have in your class. This one looks like it's a long one. You could say, please create a project-based activity that I can complete in 1 class period. So assign each group 1 specific cause of the Roman Empire. Yeah, conduct research. a possible idea, assign each group and have them conduct research using textbooks. So I could say create detailed information for students on how barbarian invasions caused the fall of the Roman Empire. So I'll just see what it kind of comes up with for that piece. A lot of times this group, I mean, this is kind of like what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. A lot of times these project-based activities will say, hand out a worksheet to this group about this. You can ask it to create that worksheet, So anything that it references in the lesson plan, if it didn't provide it, you can ask it to provide it and it will provide it for you. So kind of helpful. So, this is, a lot like just using the regular ChatGPT, but some of the nice things are when I said save response to Google Drive, it's created a Google document and it attached it to your lesson. So now you've kind of got anything that you create through this is linked to a lesson. So it's just a good way of organizing it and doing all of that stuff. Outside of the AI, it is still just a standard lesson planning tool. So if you click these 3 bars here, you can bump your lesson forward a day and it'll move it forward. You could bump it back. You could extend it. Let's say it's going to go to the end of the week. 3 days, 1, 2, 3. I don't know if that. So then now each one of these becomes an independent one that you can edit. Obviously, you can, set your course color. You have this file cabinet over here on your right, which you can use. There's a standards tab, so you can use it to just search standards. So if you need something on China. All right, so there's one standard on China. About Russia. Nope. Okay, I guess we don't cover that in 7th grade social studies. Okay, but anyway, you can search through those with that. You also have, let's see, your lessons. So you can search your own lessons, which this becomes more, let's say Roman Empire. Now this is parked. I have to go to my lesson plans. Okay, so obviously the 4 that I just created when I extended it are the ones, but I could, let's see, I can hide that. Let's say I could take this and I could drag it in, anything that's over here, you can drag over and, you can move them around that way. You can also move things around by just dragging them. So if I want to move this to here, that actually copies it. But I can also take just a section. So if I just want to move the standards, I just take that and I can drag the standards over. So any part of the lesson plan can be dragged over. You can move them, bump them, all of that. We kind of showed how you can share, but you also under the actions menu here can share all your lesson plans. So if you put a teacher in there, well, you won't see anything. They'll see a drop down and it'll have their name, and then they'll be able to switch to your name and they'll be able to look and see your lessons. So if you have team teachers, who kind of want to work together, that's a great way for them to be able to see each other's things. When you do that, you have this copy button and, you can say, oh, my team teacher has this great lesson and this great lesson. And, this one's just standards, but I'll grab it anyway. And you say copy and move it. You're going to want to copy it and you pick a date. So that you want to copy it to, and then it'll just copy them all over to your calendar. You have to pick a class. So you're going from their class to your class, but it tries to match by grade and subject. So if you both have a 7th grade social studies, it'll pick it automatically. So those are some kind of nice things to do there. You can also copy, move, park. So let's say that you had a snow day and you're not able to teach this lesson, but you want to come back to it, or you just like it. Roman Empire. It'll put it into your parking lot, and then you can use it at any time later. So if you have your favorite lessons and you want to save them forever and ever, you can do that. Now, when I have all 3 bars open, this goes to just 1 day. I can switch it to week view. It's a little crushed. You can also like adjust these things. So I could drag this in and out, or just hit this little guy to close it. So when you're trying to like drag things around, sometimes that's easier. By default, it usually copies instead of moves, but you can always just go here and hit clear, and then it'll go away.
So if I have a whole unit that I like all of the lesson plans and I want to use it the next year, I know we've only got a 1-year license, but if we had a multi-year license, would I have to put all of them in the parking lot?
No. What I would do,
next year?
Just click here, pick last year. You didn't do a lot of planning last year, Jody.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, you've got access to all your lessons forever and ever. You just switch between years. And you can, over here under my lessons, there's that keyword, but you can also do a date range. You can pick last year. So you could say, I only want to look in last year's lessons. Because you're trying to find that unit. You'll find the days, and you can either drag them over one at a time, or you can just go to that week. So if I went to this, like, let's say this was last year and I wanted to copy them forward, I could just hit copy or move, pick from a calendar, and I can be like, yep, I like this whole unit. You can also copy your whole year forward. I don't know. Some schools don't like that. It's kind of a lazy way of doing things. And then you just kind of move them around. One of the things we do have, if you do copy your whole year, they'll be gray until you at least click on them. Gray means copied, not edited. And for the purpose of standards reports, all the standards that are on there will show as not taught. So that way, like, what you don't want to have happen is you copy your whole year over and the standards report says you've taught all the standards and you haven't even taught the first one yet. So until you actually like activate the lesson, it's not going to count on a report. So that's pretty easy to do. Yeah. And then you can print these or export them. It's another important thing I wanted to show you. So we'll export them to Excel or a CSV, and you can do whatever. It's pretty fast. Ooh, look how fast that was. So to print them, go to Actions, Print, and you can print them to Word or a PDF, landscape or portrait, a week at a time or a day at a time. All classes or specific classes. And let me just show you what that looks like. Boop, boop, boop. Come on, buddy. Oh, shoot. There we go. It opened under the controls for the screen sharing. So annoying. But the nice thing about this, like, I can do like a Control A and just shrink it down a little bit, or I can edit it. That's the nice thing about Word, is that like it's a little much, but you could kind of change things around to get it to fit if you needed to. But if you don't have Word, it'll open in Google Docs. And you can also just print it to a PDF. To a PDF. Yeah. So anyway, just like PDF. Last thing, editing templates. So templates are what drives this little guy. So if I hit add new, I'll have to give it a name. Like, let's say, oh yeah. So I have objective teacher plan notes. You can add them, turn them off, rename them, and set default text. So students will be able to, if you want that word to appear, or default text, before the bell, collect homework, blah, blah, blah. And then that'll be there on every one, but you can delete it or edit it. So it's just default. It's not permanent. So that's kind of nice. Now, if I had more than one class, I could apply it to just a class, but since I only have one, I can't do that. Although we do have your test class, but anyway, yeah, so that's a template. And Jody, if you want something changed for the district, I can push that out. And then Jody, you're able to make comments on everyone's plans, and all the admins are for the people that they're an admin of. And then
Okay.
when somebody makes a comment, I don't know if I can do this with myself. You will see an acknowledge button here. And so your teachers have to acknowledge it. It keeps coming back to this. So let's say you made it on last week's. When they go in, it'll go to last week's and it'll open the comment, and they just need to hit acknowledge to get it to go away. And then, it just wants to make sure that they read it. Because a lot of times you're commenting on something that happened in the past, and they're never going to see it if we don't like take them to it to see it. So just make sure they hit acknowledge, and they could hit reply, and then you'll see it, and it'll open up when you go in and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Okay.
I know we've gone rambling on here. One last thing I just want to show you. Ask Boomer is also available over here. So you do not need to be in a lesson plan. So let's say you just need materials in a pinch. You could just say, create a student worksheet based on a topic I provide. It doesn't pre-fill grade and subject. Foil, I know that's not a grade 5 subject. Sorry. But this will be the 5th grade version of foil. But anyway, if you just you're in class and some of your advanced learners got done and you just want to create a worksheet for them, you could just do it, post it to Google, and then you got it right away. So this is always here. You don't need to be in a lesson to use this.
So is this product only about building lessons, or would this product also do like a teacher or a letter to parents about parent-teacher conferences or something like that?
Yeah. So if you click here, ask a free-form question, please create a letter to parents announcing parent-teacher conferences. And that is the barking you hear is Boomer. Boomer's our office dog. On December 15th, they need to register by, December 5th. Stress the importance of attending. I don't know, this is really bad.
And do the administrators have that kind of an access?
Oh yeah,
because they don't have
everybody has this, yes. And if you want, I can just put a teacher role on all the administrators too. And you can just ask another question and ask it to change this however you want. Otherwise you can just copy it in and send it out.
Okay.
So yeah, anything, the free-form question is just anything you want. Find materials on the web. It'll give you some search phrases. And then materials, we talked about the lesson, the worksheet, the assessment, and the project-based learning activity. One thing, I guess, very last thing here, if you wrote a lesson and you're wondering what standards it aligns to, you could say link to standards and, check off the one. It's going to look for relevant topics to search for by analyzing your lesson. And then once it finds that, you can say search. So these are the topics that it thinks are important. And then you say align and it'll go find it. Now, I really hope it finds 3. Oh, thank God. Because that's what it built it on. It was going to make me look like a complete idiot if it didn't. And what we found is actually, the ones that are, 98% and up are pretty good. After that, it starts to drop off. I mean, it'll start to produce standard linkages that are kind of all over the place. So the more generic it gets, and then you could say, I don't want this one. I don't want this one. I don't want this one. That one's already on my lesson plan. But if I say save the lesson plan, I have 3 and 2 on there now. So that concludes today's training. If you have any questions, please feel free to email support@digitalacademy.org. Thank you.